Hello, Shawnee Stars. Mrs. Simon here. Want to check in with you and see how things are going and talk with you about our next theme for Positivity Project. So this is actually going to be the theme for the week when we come back from our Christmas break. So not until January, the first week in January when we're back, will we be talking about optimism. So that's our theme for when we come back. So another word for optimism could be like hope or hopefulness, but basically optimism or an optimistic person, that means that you expect the best from the future and you work to achieve it. So people with this strength are thinking about things in the future and they're very positive. You might think about them as positive people. They have a positive vision of what the future will hold. And even if there are things that might seem challenging or there might be some setbacks in what they're hoping, they don't get discouraged and they continue to move forward and work towards their goals and believe that they're going to get there. So we're going to read a story this week that demonstrates optimism. It's about a pig, and I'm going to read to you a little bit different this week. I'm going to do it through a digital version of the book. So I'm going to share my screen and you'll be able to see it that way. Okay. So there we go. Hopefully you can see me and see When Pigs Fly. And this is a story by Valerie Coleman and the pictures are by Roger. And so this is a story about a pig that is very optimistic, all right, even though there are some things that might seem like setbacks. In a meadow near the city lived a cow named Ralph. Ralph wanted his dad to buy him a bicycle. But Ralph, his dad said, cows don't ride bikes. Not yet they don't, Ralph replied. Ralph asked and asked and asked his dad for a bike, but his dad said no, and no, and no. Finally, he said, okay, Ralph, I'll buy you a bike when pigs fly. Ralph thought about that. Then one day, while playing with some friends, he had an idea. He had to learn how to fly a helicopter. Why do you want to fly a helicopter, Ralph? Asked his friend Morris. Cows don't fly. Not yet they don't, said Ralph. Morris looked puzzled. Ralph explained, my dad said he'd buy me a bike when pigs fly. But Ralph, Morris said, pigs don't fly. Not yet they don't, said Ralph. Morris looked even more puzzled. Ralph laughed. If I learn to fly a helicopter, he said, I can take some pigs for a ride. Then I can have a bike. Ralph, Morris said, cows don't ride bikes. Not yet they don't, said Ralph. The next day, Ralph went to the airport. He saw a woman loading suitcases onto an airplane. Excuse me, said Ralph. Is there someone here who can teach me how to fly a helicopter? Millie looked a little surprised. Bill can, she said, but cows don't fly helicopters. Not yet they don't, Ralph smiled. Ralph went to see Bill. Why do you want to fly a helicopter? Bill asked. When I learn to fly a helicopter, I can take some pigs for a ride, Ralph explained. My dad said that when pigs fly, I can have a bike. Ralph, said Bill, do you know that cows don't ride bicycles? Not yet they don't, said Ralph. Every day that week, Bill showed Ralph how to fly a helicopter. Ralph learned to fly up and down and backwards and forwards. He even learned to fly in circles. It was a very exciting week for Ralph. Sometimes it was exciting for Bill, too. As soon as his lessons were finished, Ralph went to his friends, Julia and Margaret. "Can I take you for a helicopter ride?" he asked. Julia's eyes opened wide, Margaret's mouth opened wide. "But Ralph," they said, "we're pigs. Pigs don't fly." "Not yet they don't," answered Ralph. The very next morning, Ralph took Julia and Margaret for a ride in a helicopter. The circles made Julia a little dizzy, and Margaret liked going up better than down, but they both had fun. When the helicopter landed, Ralph said, "Thank you, Julia and Margaret. Thank you to Julia and Margaret. I have to get home," he said. "My dad is going to buy me a bike." "A bike?" said Margaret. But Ralph was already gone. "Ralph," Julia called after him, "cows don't ride bikes." His answer came back to them. "Not yet they don't." And there he is, riding his bike. So, boys and girls, as you can see there, Ralph was determined. He had a positive outlook on what he wanted and was hopeful. He wanted a bike, right? But there were things, and everybody's like, "But cows don't ride bikes." And he just kept saying, "Not yet they don't." And he didn't let that get him down or discouraged. And he kept working towards that goal that he had, that he wanted to be able to ride a bike. "But pigs don't fly." "Not yet they don't." And so that was his positive outlook. So that's an example of someone who is optimistic or displays the character of optimism. They're hopeful and they're willing to work towards it, even if there's things that seem really hard to do or impossible to do. You're still hopeful and you believe that it can still happen and you work towards that. So that's optimism. So we encourage you to be optimistic and have a positive outlook on things and to work really hard for those things that you want. So we hope you have a wonderful week and we'll see you soon. Bye.